Today we're discussing Tom Hanks issuing a warning about a fake ad featuring an AI-generated version of himself, the US government narrowly dodging a shutdown, why Tyrese Gibson is suing Home Depot, and more, all in today's episode of The Insight Hour. What's up, Internet? So glad to have you all here. First off, how was your weekend? Good, I hope? I basically spent my whole Saturday driving, and then Sunday food comed. Man, I love Korean barbecue. Anyways, Alice, let's look into the Tom Hanks situation first.
Two-time Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hanks recently took to Instagram to warn about an AI-generated ad using his likeness as promotion.
Tom Hanks, the man who's played everyone from Woody in Toy Story to Captain John Miller in Saving Private Ryan, is now starring as himself? So, here's the scoop. Hanks took to Instagram to warn his followers about a video promoting a dental plan featuring a computer-generated image of himself. He denies having any connection to the product or the video and wanted to bring attention to it so no one falls for the clickbait advertisement. I can imagine, for legal reasons, this was also for the best. Now, this isn't the first time Hanks and AI have been used in the same sentence. He previously discussed the rise of artificial intelligence and deepfake technology in the creative industry, discussing his thoughts on how it's now possible for him to continue acting after his death. Hanks has said that all of the guilds, all of the agencies, and all of the legal firms are currently discussing the legal ramifications to using an actor's face and voice as intellectual property. So the question is, do we care if it's AI or the real deal? Let's rewind a bit back to the false advertisement and switch the scenario up a little bit. Imagine this. It's a week before the election, and a video drops. It's the leading candidate saying something outrageous or something that could cost them the election. The video goes viral, and the election is turned on its head. But as it turns out, the video is a deepfake. A real twilight zone of modern politics. Deepfake technology has gotten so good it's becoming increasingly difficult to tell what's real and what's not. And in an election where the stakes are as high as Snoop Dogg on a Saturday, it's dangerous to say the least. Deepfake's starting to undermine the very essence of the whole electoral process, and I can all but guarantee that we'll be seeing tons of them soon. They can be used to manipulate public opinion, discredit candidates, and sow discord, making the technology a fantastic tool for foreign entities looking to meddle in our affairs. As for now, the only thing we can do is raise awareness when a video is fake, but as the tech gets better, it's only going to get harder to tell the difference between reality and fiction. And even once a video is found to be fake, the damage may have already been done. So buckle up, I guess, because shit's about to get dicey.
The U.S. government has narrowly avoided a shutdown, thanks to a last-minute effort by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. A short-term funding measure was passed with the support of a majority of Democrats and Republicans. However, this doesn't mean all is well. The government's track record this year has been less than stellar, with only 14 bills and resolutions becoming law since January. This is the lowest number in at least 50 years.
First off, credit where credit is due. Shout out to Kevin McCarthy for pulling a Hail Mary and avoiding government shutdown. Now that that's out of the way, this is more of a putting a band-aid on a bullet wound sort of deal. The government has been so unproductive this year, it's like watching a sloth trying to win a sprint. Now, Speaker McCarthy did have to defy the most conservative members of the party to get this done, but a recent poll found that around 64% of Americans favor compromise to keep the government open, so it's not too surprising he would side with the majority. The Republican Party itself is almost evenly split, half saying compromise, while the other half are more stick to their principles, even if that means shutting the government down. Now, this is just a stopgap measure, so what's going to happen when the funding runs out? Are we going to see this drama unfold again? I mean, the divisions within the Republican Party are so deep that it almost led to a government shutdown. Oh wait, we have an update.
Representative Matt Gaetz has announced that he will try to remove Kevin McCarthy from his leadership position. Gaetz accuses McCarthy of breaching agreements with House Republicans and plans to file a motion to vacate the chair.
Huh. Well, that escalated quickly.
Actor and musician Tyrese Gibson has filed a $1 million lawsuit against the Home Depot, alleging racial profiling against him and two associates during an incident in California. Gibson, along with his co-plaintiffs Eric Mora and Manuel Hernandez, claim they were subjected to discriminatory practices and consumer racial profiling. The Home Depot has pushed back, stating that they do not tolerate discrimination in any form.
Okay, so Tyrese alleges that he was racially profiled at a Home Depot in West Hills, California. He was there with his associates who regularly provide construction services to Gibson in connection with his projects. Tyrese had apparently decided to wait in the car while his companions completed the transactions with his credit cards, but the cashier allegedly refused to complete the purchases even after Tyrese came back inside the store. Now Home Depot has filed legal documentation of their own, saying that Tyrese left the cash register to continue shopping after a cashier had scanned each of his items. They claimed he was gone for about 25 minutes or so, and during that time, the cashier cleared his transaction. Home Depot surveillance footage apparently shows that Tyrese did not speak face-to-face with any of their employees during the incident. The whole thing's a little bit messy, and as of now, I'm a little confused as to what the problem actually is. But the situation's got me thinking. Celebrities have enormous platforms. When they speak, people listen. When they tweet, it trends. And when they take stances on social issues, they can either shine a light on an important topic or cast a shadow over it. On one hand, celebrities like Tyrese can bring much needed attention to issues like racial profiling and discrimination. Their stories can serve as a rallying cry for change, pushing corporations and institutions to reevaluate their policies and practices. On the other hand, if a celebrity's claim turns out to be exaggerated or false, it can only have a detrimental effect, creating skepticism around genuine cases of discrimination. People might start to think, and probably have started to think, oh, there's just another celebrity trying to get attention, and that's dangerous. It can really undermine the credibility of actual victims who don't have a platform to speak out. If celebrities misuse their influence and make false or exaggerated claims, they risk creating a cry wolf scenario. The public may become desensitized to these issues, thinking that they're just tactics for attention or a PR stunt. This could make it harder for genuine cases to be taken seriously in the future. So while celebrities have the power to spotlight issues that many of us care deeply about, they also have the responsibility to ensure their influence isn't used maliciously. Because when the lines between activism and attention seeking are blurred, the ones who suffer the most are the individuals who are actually living through the discrimination that some celebrities claim to be fighting against.
Pava LaPere, a 26-year-old tech CEO and founder of Ecomap Technologies, was found dead in her Baltimore apartment on September 25th. A warrant has been issued for 32-year-old Jason Dean Billingsley, who is wanted for first-degree murder in connection with LaPere's death. The Baltimore Police Department is actively searching for him.
Sadly, LaPere was found dead with signs of blunt force trauma in her Mount Vernon apartment building around 11:30 a.m. She had been missing prior to her death. Now, the police have issued a warrant for Jason Dean Billingsley, who's wanted for first-degree murder. The guy has a rap sheet with multiple charges, including sex offenses and robberies. LaPere was the founder and CEO of Ecomap Technologies. According to her company, she was a deeply passionate and dedicated leader. Her work wasn't just about making money, it was also about social impact. She was on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, and her clients included big names like the Aspen Institution and Meta. So a little more detail. On the night of the incident, Billingsley was captured on a video following LaPere as she walked home. LaPere didn't seem to notice him, but he kept his distance. She had entered the apartment building, but then returned to the front door after seeing Billingsley wave at her through the glass. He had pretended like he couldn't get into the building. LaPere, being the kind soul she was, let him in. They were seen on a video having a conversation before getting into the elevator together. And about 40 minutes later, Billingsley is seen coming back into the lobby, scrambling for an exit and wiping his hands on his shorts. LaPere's body was later discovered on the rooftop. After a days-long manhunt, Billingsley was finally arrested at a train station in Bowie, Maryland. He's been charged with first-degree murder, first-degree assault, and a laundry list of other crimes. As it turns out, he's also facing charges for a separate incident where he allegedly raped a woman and set her boyfriend on fire. Now, critics have been questioning why the police didn't notify the public sooner. The police defended their actions, saying they believed the first incident was targeted and didn't want to tip off Billingsley. But despite tracking him, they never got close enough to make an arrest until now. LaPere's family has since expressed relief at Billingsley's arrest, stating that we're relieved to know he can no longer hurt another victim.
Gerarado Cabanillas, a man who spent nearly 3 decades in prison for kidnapping, sexual assault, and robbery, has been exonerated thanks to new DNA evidence. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon announced the exoneration last week, acknowledging a tragic miscarriage of justice.
Oh yes, the criminal justice system once again, where you're guilty until proven innocent 28 years later. So, Gerardo was just 18 when he was arrested in 1995. There he was coerced into giving a false confession by a detective who promised him probation. But, and it's a huge but, despite having zero physical evidence linking him to the crime, Gerardo was ultimately charged with 14 felony counts. Now let's fast forward to 2019. The California Innocence Project steps in. They file a motion to have the DNA evidence tested, and guess what? None of it matched Gerardo. The DA's office was forced to admit that they had lost confidence in the conviction. The new DNA testing led to the identification of a new suspect who was already in custody for an unrelated killing. Okay, so the actual bad guy had gone off to commit multiple serious felonies, including several rapes and murders. In other words, not only did the system fail Cabanillas, but it failed to catch the actual criminal, allowing him to commit further crimes. Alright, so let's switch gears for a moment and talk about something that's as common in police stations as stale coffee and bad lighting. Coercive tactics leading to false confessions. Now I know what some of you are thinking. The police don't actually do such a thing, or it's just a couple bad apples. But the reality is that they do the thing. Whether that be on a small or a large scale, it's a problem. Being promised probation rather than full-blown jail sounds like a great deal if someone feels like there's no other way. And to someone young, scared, and has a detective breathing down their neck, that sounds like a deal too good to pass up. The problem here is that law enforcement officers are allowed to lie during interrogations. Yeah, you heard that right. They can promise you the moon and stars to get you to confess, and then slap you with a life sentence. So what's the solution? Well, for starters, let's have all the interrogations recorded. no exceptions, by multiple or independent parties as to avoid tampering. And while we're at it, let's get some legislation that prohibits deceptive practices during interrogation. Because let's face it, if you need to lie to get a confession, maybe you're not that good at your job in the first place. Coercive tactics. Bad for justice, bad for society, well, just bad. And on that note, we're gonna call it for today. Don't forget to let us know what you thought on any of today's topics in the comments below. And until next time, stay weird, stay safe, and I will see you on Wednesday.